guys, I am back with my review of the After Ever Happy movie. So before I begin, I just want to say that After Ever Happy was so far one of my favorite movies in this After series. I had a lot of expectations and a lot of judgment as seeing that this was going to be the last installment of the After series. I think they did a really good job. I will say that both Hero and Josephine did a really good job with the acting and like their emotions, and I feel like they even shared like more chemistry like on set. I think after like all, you know, these times filming and everything, but I think you can tell a little bit more of like you could just see like more chemistry between them. Like you could see that in the storyline, like there's more love for each other and like more emotion, and you know, I think they did a really good job. So I actually enjoyed that part, or like that aspect, so that was really good. So overall, I really like the movie. I'll give my rating at the end of the video. So here's my book, my After Ever Happy book, and this copy, I have two copies. This one though was a gift, and I actually got it signed by Anna. Oh my god, back in the day. So I actually got it signed by her. We begin the movie, you know, from the last to be continued. We know that Hardin is in London. You know, he finds out that Vance and, you know, his mom lied to him, that his whole life has been a lie. You know, we start seeing him get really emotional, start struggling with like keeping himself sane. And then there's Tessa, right? After like that time apart, you know, Tessa's still kind of like in shock with like her dad passing away, and then Hardin still being there, and clearly she doesn't really want much to do with him at that point. I think what I really loved the most, again, like I said, was the whole like digging deep with the emotions and the scenes. So in this like movie, we get to see like the Tessa that we kind of wanted to see, of her growing up and growing through like the struggles of her family dynamics, right? So we get a couple of the greenhouse scenes, and if you read the book you would know, but that's like her safe haven, right? So it's nice to see her kind of like go to that space, but yet Hardin is there with her to kind of like protect her and look over her, but she knows she's safe there, you know, and obviously he wants to like care for her. So I love like the chemistry that's like with them there. Like I love that scene. It leads up, you know, to Tessa wanting to be like independent, her own life. You know, Seattle's just kind of like done with. She wants a fresh start, wants to move on. It's just so back and forth with Hardin and all their constant fighting and ups and downs, and you know, he's willing to make it work, willing to put in the effort, but she doesn't want to. Like she wants, you know, the time apart, just like we've known. Obviously it's like understandable, and I think we kind of get to see that more in the movie, like how Hardin kind of is like that, like controlling, like no you can't do this, like more manipulative in that way of like, you know, no, we can make this work, like I want you, I need you kind of thing. And she's like now making up her mind that no, she doesn't, you know, really want that. We get to see a little bit of Carol's, so Tessa's mom, Carol's and Hardin's like interaction then, right? You know, so Tessa doesn't really want like much to do with Hardin anymore, but I really enjoyed the scene of both like his mom and him talking, because he's like upfront and really blunt about it, which is like the Hardin that we've read about, right? He doesn't give, you know, he doesn't care about other people's opinions or like what they think of him. So I really enjoyed that scene where, you know, he's like, well, you kind of have to do better, you know, for my daughter, she loves you more than she loves herself kind of thing, but if you don't, then there's somebody out there that will.
What's best for her? And that is up to you now, because you are the only person that she'll listen to. That girl loves you way too much for her own good. But Hardin, you and I both know that you can't give her what she needs. And that is stopping her from finding someone who will.
And I literally love that scene. Like that was one of my favorites, and I was like, yeah, exactly. Like, get your shit together, right? So in After Ever Happy, we get to see the whole like baby talk, and we are introduced to the topic more now of like the pregnancy, right? and if like Tessa were to get pregnant or if they were to have a baby. I like that it kind of brings it up now, because you know that they're like more serious in a way, but it's also kind of like a topic that wasn't really like talked about until now. So yeah, so there's the pregnancy talk, you know, Tessa going to the doctor, she's unsteady about it, Hardin's like worried about her, like what's going on kind of thing. And I really like the scene where like he always goes to her rescue, like no matter what, like, you know, he's there for her, he cares about her. And for Tessa, it's like he literally like melts in her hands, which I love. And you know, we've seen it in the book where, you know, he's always going after her, but like she gets drunk, he goes, looks for her, he's worried about her, carries her to bed, she's like, you know, drunk talking, and like it's just this cute thing, and she's like, stay, like don't leave kind of thing, and literally gets me, right?
I love you. Stay.
The whole New York talk, her wanting to go to New York, you know, she tells Hardin, he's obviously not okay, like no, stay, we can work this out, like we'll figure it out, like I can be better, I can do better, Tessa, you know. And she's just like, I've made up my mind. Obviously, you know, we see, which I found it a little bit cringe in the movie, because Hardin like burst out like screaming, obviously out of anger, instead of punching Landon, thinking that he's taking her away from him, you know, being all jealous and obsessive. You know, he's like out of anger, he's like letting that frustration go, but okay, she's like, give time, give space, like let's do this. So, you know, they're time apart. The whole Tessa moving to New York is like a new chapter, like a new era for her, right? So she's making her money, trying to get into school, NYU, all that stuff. So I really enjoyed seeing it, because I remember in the book like the transition from that, and like her finally like doing her own thing, like moving on, like it's kind of what I wanted to see. So I actually enjoyed that, right? Liked seeing a lot of like Landon and, you know, his girlfriend and everything, and like him kind of like growing up, a little bit more of their friendship when they do live there, right? So that was really nice to see. It kind of like developed a little bit more in a way. I know we got a new actor, you know, in the movie, but regardless, like I really like those little like bonding, funny, you know, friendship moments. So that was really nice. Obviously, after that, we know that, you know, the whole scene in the trailer that you guys saw, Tessa finding after, right, Hardin's book that he has been writing, right? So before that, let's go back. Before that, while Tessa is obviously like in New York, Hardin actually, like, I love this too, but like Hardin actually takes it upon himself to, you know, do good and be better for her, and actually do his, you know, AA meetings, kind of like the therapy of like him boxing, right? Him trying to be a better person, still writing. I actually enjoyed that like time apart where like he graduates, he walks, he rekindles his, you know, like bond with Ken, like the whole like hugging scene, you know, he talks about him like, no, you're still my dad, I still consider you, you know, you're my son, all this stuff. We see him too, you know, go to London to go see his mom. So he's literally like checking off everything off the list of like how to better himself, how to improve, you know, what would Tessa want me to do, like I'll do anything for her. I liked how they showed Tessa in the movie like reading through after, right? So she's like reading and like the thoughts and like his thinking and like his way, and like she's doing all these things but like paying attention to like the words. He comes home, she goes off, right? Like, how dare you like show like the world like our story, you know? And it's like, I wrote this like after, you know, I met you kind of thing. So we know what happens, and you know, we get to see it, and I love that it's like this huge like book, and it's just like about them and like everything that, you know, went down, and like in his head, his own point of view. Like I enjoyed seeing that in the movie, and we get to see him like actually publish his book, and he says there's like publishers after him, and you know, after like they like they want his storyline, right? So we see him like with his book and everything, right? He, again, like I said, made amends with his mom later on, showed her the book, like, this is, I wrote this, she's proud of him, all this stuff. So he's like bonding, like making amends with everybody, right? But we end up like leaving on a cliffhanger, right? So the ending of the movie, right? Tessa ends up going to like a book event, like the book reading of After, right? And she goes in quietly, she's with her, you know, like hoodie hat on, like trying not to get seen by like Hardin, right? So he's starting to like give his thanks, right? And Tessa sees how Hardin looks over at his like assistant, or you know, whatever, whoever helped him with like the story, or his therapist or something. And she sees that, notices that, and obviously kind of gets upset. She starts thinking wrong, and she just like leaves. And that gets Hardin's attention because the door like opens, and it's like he sees her, like the back of her, and she's just like walking off, like leaving like the book reading, right? And she never really got to stick around and listen to everything else, right? So it ends like that, to be continued. So it's a cliffhanger, so we know that the story will continue like later on. And we know that there's obviously way more, and that the 5th movie that we are getting, called After Everything, will be released, and obviously it's gonna have, you know, more than we already got. But I'm also kind of wondering like what exactly will be on there, because I think we got some pretty good scenes in After Ever Happy, and I think they did a really good job at not rushing everything and making us feel lost while watching the movie. Like everything kind of like made sense, and it actually rolled out smoothly. So I think that was really great, but I'm really kind of like worried about how far they're gonna stretch out the 2nd movie. So I don't really know. I mean, I can guess, I can assume like what they'll show, but it's kind of like another like to be continued, left on a cliffhanger. Okay, what happens next, right? Overall, it was a really good, overall they did a really good job with the movie. I think that they, you know, they got the book thoroughly this time. Again, like I said, in this movie I actually saw it play out more to the book than anything, so I really appreciated that. I love that. I'm excited but also anxious for the 5th, like final installment, right? They kind of did like a whole breaking down part 1, part 2, which is fine because it's like we want to get more of them, but then it's like, why make the 5th one when you could just put everything in this one? I don't know if it was really that necessary, or again, how far they're gonna extend the 5th movie, but we'll see. I hope they don't change anything. I hope they don't add anything that doesn't belong in there. That's like my pet peeve, or like my problem, where it's like if they just start adding like their own stuff to make, it's like, no, stick to the book, like just keep it how the book is, right? Oh, but before I end on anything, right, I will say that the intimate scenes that we got, or like the only ones that we got, were also really great. The trailer obviously kind of showed it, but we don't get too much of that like in After Ever Happy, right? Because it's more like of a challenging time for them, their relationship and all that stuff, so we don't really get that. But what we did get in the movie was great. It was intense. I love that. I love how like more playful, and like again, like the chemistry, like it's more there this time than in the previous movies, so I actually enjoyed those scenes, so they did a really good job. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I would give it, I'm a little harsh, but like I would give it an 8 out of 10. I feel like it was great, it was good. I genuinely like loved it, but again, there was just some things, maybe, you know, could have been a little cringy parts or whatever. Maybe a different, like add a scene or two more into like the actual movie, something else could have been like added to it. But I think it was really good. I genuinely enjoyed it, and I recommend you guys go watch it if you've been watching the After series, if you've been, you know, reading the books, you know all about them. I mean, this is like the ending coming, and it's kind of sad, but I mean, at least we got the movies, right? We'll always have the books. So yeah, that's my genuine review. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Am I missing anything? I mean, those were just like a couple of scenes that I really enjoyed, but let me know if I missed anything or what you guys thought about it, if you do plan on watching it, and what do you expect from After Everything, because I'm interested and I'm curious to know if you guys also think that, you know, things are gonna get added on, or if it's gonna stick to the book and, you know, end on a good note. So yeah, thank you for watching, and go watch the movie.